think we'll get started. Can you hear me back there? Back? No?
Can't hear you.
No? I'm on. Okay. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't need the microphone.
You need to talk more.
I need to talk more into the microphone. Okay. Welcome everybody to the 2023 Best in Show Photographic Print Competition. And I'm Al Werman, the chair of the contest. And this is the first time we've had a live public critique in a few years, so I have to get back in the groove a little bit. But I'm glad to see everybody here. And before I get into too many details, I want to make sure that I thank all the sponsors. First of all, let's go to the next slide.
Good show here.
Well, okay, let's talk about the club first a little bit. We meet on the first and fourth Tuesdays of the month, and if you're interested, come on out. We are now meeting at the Champaign Public Library, which is a lot more convenient than places that we used to meet on campus. And we're having a nice presentation tomorrow on off-camera flash. So if you have any interest in using flash in your photography, come on out tomorrow at 6:30.
6:30.
Yeah. And we also have pamphlets about our club if anybody wants to pick one up and learn a little bit more. And certainly visit our website, champaigncameraclub.org. So, our sponsors. First and foremost, I want to thank the Urbana Park District. We couldn't do this without them. And Janet and all her people. They actually do a lion's share of the work that Janet does because they receive all the photos, all the checks. Janet keeps all the prints in her office, piling them up in the stacks, and they label everything. You know, they print out the labels and create a spreadsheet that I can use then to sort on. So it's a lot of work that makes my job so much easier. Also, I want to thank Lincoln Square Mall. We have the space out there, which is just perfect for displaying the prints. And then we have this room. They're not charging us anything. And if we had to pay something, it would be really hard to put on the show. Because frankly, all of the money that you use for entry fees goes back to you in terms of prize money. So if we had to pay for use of a facility, it would be just that much less that comes back to you. Two other sponsors are located here in the mall, Art Co-op, or Art Coop as I call it, and International Galleries down another hall. Prairie Gardens has joined us about 4 years ago, and they've donated a number of gift certificates. One of our judges this year, John Dessen, representing his Illini studio, is another sponsor, providing some cash, as well as Larry Camphor and Busey Bank. Our thanks to all of them. Last but not least is Trophy Time, who has all these beautiful ribbons printed every year at no charge to us. So all of these sponsors, except for Prairie Gardens, have been with us since the very beginning, and it's really a privilege to have them involved. And Janet, too, because she's been with us since the beginning. Frankly, she's the only one that I know that has been involved all 22 years. Yeah. And while I'm talking about Janet, did you want to say a few words about this?
I
will put these flyers out at our head table, but the Boneyard Creek Community Day, which is where they do conservation and they clean up Boneyard Creek, they are looking for volunteer photographers to take images of the work that people are doing, and so they made up a flyer for us to have. I'll have it out at the checkout table. If you're interested in coming to a fun community event, you get a t-shirt, and they feed you, and watch people do some important things for the ecosystem. I don't know which park they're doing this year, but they get down in the creeks and in the lakes, and they pull out grocery carts and bikes, and they get out in a boat. They really do important work for our waterways. So we have a flyer for that, and I will leave it at the checkout table. So when you're done here and you take your prints off the wall and you come check out with me, I'll have these flyers up there if you're interested, because they really need good photographers, and that is you. You're all good photographers, and it's fun to do, fun to give back.
That's right. In fact, I want to say, if you didn't win, that doesn't mean you had a bad photo. Okay, it's just a competition. These things are well, subjective. Let's put it that way. And speaking of subjective, let's meet the judges. Wait. Let's step back a second. I'll just mention this year, $100 for first place, $75 for second, $50 for third. And then all the honorable mention winners are getting a $25 gift certificate. So you're getting something back, right? I'd also mention that we have a category for club members. We compete basically against ourselves and not against you. Our entry fees we pay just like everybody else, but we don't get any cash award. So the cash we pay to enter goes to you. Okay. So let's meet the judges. First, Della Perone, you want to raise your hand? Della has been taking photographs for a while, mostly, well, a lot of events and some sports figures now at the university.
Corporate, portraiture,
yes.
what you got,
Yeah.
good.
And for the Champaign Fire Department.
Yes.
Yes. Daryl Homan was the first photo editor at the News Gazette, retired from there in 2013 after 25 years. And are you still the photo editor for Midwest Center for Investigative?
They call it visuals now because it involves video and everything else.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm still with Midwest Center for Investigative Reporting.
Okay. And you own Daryl Homan Photography, and you're an emeritus board member of the Associated Press Photo Managers. And also, now, I mentioned John Desson, owner of Illini Studio. He's been photographing people for
43 years.
42 years, okay. And following in the footsteps of your father, yeah. And I just, funny, over the weekend, my wife happened to pull out her high school graduation, and your dad took her picture. Also, if you're interested, go around the corner to International Galleries and you'll see some of Della's work on the wall. It's really good. So, I also want to thank the News Gazette for publishing the winners this year, as they have every year for 22 years. And I've kind of somehow gotten a nice relationship with Jim Rosso, and he's been kind enough to get some blurbs in the paper as we go throughout the year to kind of get your interest going. So I thank him for that. If you haven't visited our website, a couple of years ago, I put together a little video that kind of helps show you how to mount your prints and what to look for in terms of making a photo or taking a photo and presenting that photo. So I hope you get a chance to look at that sometime. And I'll just mention also that the scoring process, we pass each photo through a light box. The judges are sitting in front of that light box, and they're scoring each photo as it goes by on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the best, we accumulate the scores from the three of them, so a 15 would be the highest score. We write that score on the back of your print, so when you pick it up, you can check out that score. I'll just mention there weren't any 15s this year. Not that I expect one, and that's not their fault, but they're being honest about what they're seeing in terms of what they want out of an image. So check that out, and if you think about how you can improve on that score. And when you come back, a number of the Camera Club members, myself and Kim, I know for sure, have been participants a long time ago in Best in Show. We wanted to improve our photography. We joined the club, and I think I know it's helped our photography immensely.
Al, I should say that we probably would never give ourselves a 15. Seriously, there's always something, so please don't take that as being, well, it's not perfect, because it's never going to be.
So,
Well, maybe Daryl's, I don't know. Apparently Daryl's.
Alan, I have a question for the crowd. If you-
sure.
When I teach photography, I always ask my students before critique if they want nice or honest. Let's see some hands here for nice. Let's see some hands for honest. Okay.
Okay.
They chose, right?
And what about those that didn't raise their hand at all?
Al, I thought after, there was a critique here years ago, and I thought after that you were going to give us a metal detector at the door.
Yeah. That happens outside. Okay, so we're going to go ahead with the awards presentation, and we're just going to kind of wing it and let the judge make comments as we go, as they see fit. So we'll start out with the animals. We're going to kind of go through the categories in alphabetical order and start out with animals. And I know first place goes to Rob Beddoes for his photo repose. And can you turn off the lights? I think it'll, yeah, it's going to be dark, but I hope you can handle it. The photos show up much better on the screen if we do this. So hopefully you don't stumble around too much in the dark. So, Rob, here's your ribbon. I think this photo caught the judge's attention a lot. Any comments from the gallery?
I'm sorry, I don't mean, you guys jump in. But I've judged a lot of animal categories where when I can tell it's a photo shot at a zoo or animal park, I kind of have a side. But this hit all the buttons. This was a great pose, great framing. It was just, this was one that we actually all agreed on, which was not the case every time. But this was a unanimous decision.
And to add something to, on the composition of the photograph, the way that the hand comes down catches your attention and the arm leads right up to his eyes. The contemplation of what is he doing hanging out all day long, thinking about what is next. And so there's emotion to it, whether you realize it or not.
And I loved it, well, partially because it was just a great black and white execution. I mean, there's a great scale to it, the clarity, the sharpness is wonderful. And yeah, and the crop is perfect. We all three it was a boom moment, so congratulations on a great image.
The only thing, where is Rob? Right there. The only thing, I might add just a little bit more contrast to it. I like a little bit more saturation in the blacks and the whites, so maybe just a teeny bit more. And there was one other thing I was going to say when you were announcing this. We have judged multiple events for the Champaign County Camera Club. And what I found out, and we kind of looked at each other this last time, we score so close every single time within our numbers. So if somebody's going to score a 3, you score a 3, you score a 2, or you score a 3. almost every single photograph, we were only one off. You can tell by the numbers, the tally. We are only one number off every single photograph, right? So you guys won, you've done a great job.
Yes. Okay, second place, Black Skimmer by Allison Branson. Allison, you're here, cool. I do a lot of bird photography. In fact, I was out with some falconers yesterday. A lot of fun. It's hard to catch birds on the fly. And I think we especially like this because you have this other one as a mirror image almost right behind it. Great capture.
A lot of the best pictures make good use of depth of field control. You know, the ones that were almost were because the depth of field control, there wasn't good choices being made. I'm like, that, anyway, but this did.
Yeah. Yeah, if the back bird was also in focus, it might, this bird wouldn't stand out as much. So I think that was sometimes it just happens that way. It wasn't planned. I know how that goes, but this worked. Okay, third place, High Cross Cattle, Natalie Rodriguez. Natalie, okay. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You.
I really liked this one. It made me happy. It was just a joyous capture of color and light, and, you know, basically, to me, it kind of got to the root of what I like in photography, which is capturing light. They're fun. It's just a really fun image. It's very nicely done.
Those cows are always curious.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm going to say this also, one of the things that we noticed on landscape images is we saw a lot of crooked horizons, and that all the things are straight like they should be, the fence line, the horizon, all of that, and that makes the image, the cows stand out really well. So it's very nicely executed. We were pretty critical on the crooked horizons, just so you guys all know.
Yeah, another thing too is we're not splitting the picture with the horizon in the middle. It's up a little higher. If you've heard that rule of thirds kind of thing, where you try and line up your subjects on the corners of the tic-tac-toe or your horizons on the upper third or the bottom third, this fits that to a T. Okay, and now we've got some honorable mentions. Robin Kravitz with Come Fly Away. Beautiful picture of a bluebird, robin.
Nicely done, very nicely done.
Let's see. Gotta make sure I get the right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great, good shot.
There was often discussion when it got down to second and third honorable mentions as to how we're going to, that's where our disagreements were. And a lot of the HMs were in the running, just it was a negotiated settlement.
Yeah, there's some arm wrestling that goes on.
Well, there were no fistfights.
No bruises. Yeah. Okay, is that food I see? Selena Douglas? Okay. If I can find that. Okay, she's coming around. Another bird shot.
What Dallas was just saying, one of the things that we liked about this photograph is the fact that the palm trees actually mimic, or the wings mimic palm trees, so it's a V and V. So it draws your attention directly to the bird. If it was off to the side, I don't think it would have been as effective. So whoever did this, I didn't see you when you walked up. Here's my thumbs up.
Okay, next. Catbird Conversation, Barb Peters. Barb? Not here. I'm gonna just interject, I like this one, it's painterly, you know, it looks like an art drawing.
Right.
A simple background really helps.
Okay, next, Pensive, also by Barb. Another bluebird.
This one, I think, might have done better if the saturation had been better. It's a little weak in saturation. Everything else works.
And notice again, it's kind of hitting that rule of thirds kind of thing, not centered. Okay, oh, one more. Lunchtime, Denise Halberstadt, Denise? Okay. Lots of bird photographers in this group, I think. Okay, let's move on to architecture. Under the Bridge by Tricia Scott. Tricia, are you here? Yes, okay. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Tricia's been involved in this for a number of years. I know I've given her ribbons and stuff before. Where is the bridge?
This is in Paris.
Paris,
France.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
just Paris.
Yeah, not Paris, Illinois.
Last May.
Yeah, you know, that's another.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's not Paris, Illinois.
But again, grayscale, great, details great, composition's great. It's all the marks.
I think we just all found it very interesting. It kind of ties together and then leads you out of the photograph.
I think I got lucky that it was all centered up though,
Yes.
honestly.
Yeah. And this would have done well in the black and white category too.
Yes.
Good detail on the rivets. Okay, second place, Doug Pugh, the Metro in Washington. Doug. Congratulations.
I thought this really captured a sense of place. It just, you know, it looks like a really straightforward, maybe kind of touristy photo, but it goes beyond that, but just really getting the sense of place in it.
Yeah, if you've ever been to Washington DC, almost always to get around, you got to get on the Metro, and this is what you see.
If you pause on the bridge.
If you pause, yeah, right.
Okay.
Or if you're lost and going, which way do I go? But it's iconic, yes, definitely. Definitely,
Lots of blue, great.
definitely has that perspective that leads you into the photo too. Okay, next. Cafe Zotro, Bill, Evie, is Bill here? Okay, Bill. If you don't know where this photo was taken, you gotta look on the left-hand side of the photo to figure that out. Comments? I love the colors.
This is something, the right time of day. Because if the light hadn't been striking the building just like that, it would have been not the same.
And you're right, the color saturation is great.
Next, let's go to the next. Kaleidoscope, Sherry. Congratulations. Another one of those kind of bridge photos.
The limited palette on this one is what really made it, I think, for me. It really helped the light and shadow play on it.
Another use of symmetry. Pier at Sunrise, Allison Branson.
Nicely done.
Again, the horizon's getting close to the middle, but it's still not in the middle. And that sea line is straight, notice that? Not going off to one side or the other. I think, black and white, yes, let's move on. Winner, Wendy by Robin Woodall. I know Della had impressions of this photo.
Oh, it's just awesome. I love the stripes in the shirt echoing the, you know, the trees and the way the light's playing in the landscape, and it's just a, black and white was a perfect way to interpret all of that. It's just really a great picture.
Della, congratulations. I think too, you were struck by the striping in the shirt.
Yes, and the trees, like I
And the
said,
trees.
yeah,
So
the relationship between those two elements was just great, and the perspective.
For me, it's still could have used a little more detail.
The highlights, yeah.
Speak up. If you have a comment, let them hear it, okay?
Okay, what I said is that Daryl said something about having a little bit more oomph to it. And I think that when we actually saw the print, it was a little bit more contrasty than the projection. We think that when you photograph it and project it, it takes something out of it. So actually, I think that the print was actually better than the projection.
Yeah, there was more detail
Yeah.
in the highlights, I think is what, but yeah. I think.
I also like the wide angle perspective, how it bows everything in, and then Wendy is kind of not quite centered, but a little bit to the left. So yeah.
I'm curious, how did you take the photo? Did you have a tripod on camera with a timer and then?
No, I just stood behind her.
Oh, okay, so
Wendy
this
was
isn't,
taking
this is not you.
No,
Okay,
Wendy was taking a picture. Wendy, hi Wendy. I was taking the picture.
okay,
And I just, I was following her around and taking pictures of her taking pictures.
okay, wonderful. Now I get it. Okay, next picture, Scott Austin, Shifting Sands. Scott?
I love this photo. I'm always a sucker for anything that reminds me of Brett Weston. And just the total range and design of the waves just really did it for me.
And if you look closely, there's little footprints in there. Next, storm approaching dunes, Rob. Another photo by Rob. Another straight horizon. Yay.
This one definitely doesn't look as good on the slide as it did in the print.
And honorable mention, Tammy Cole, a splash of Jack. Yeah. I think you had a comment, I remember,
I could have done without the bottle of Jack Daniels and just had
just the glass.
just the glass. I would. I have a thing that when you have something with type lines in a photo, your eye goes there first there to read it, and you kind of lose whatever else is going on in the photo. I was that wasn't universally accepted. So, but it's a nice photo. It's just I wish it was just the glass with the splash.
There you go. Okay, next. Lazy afternoon, Bar Porsche. Definitely tells a story. I have dogs, I've seen this. If you have a cat, you'd see this too.
This is one where I think our discussion, and you guys can correct me, but if just the dog, if the background past the dog had been a little more out of focus, instead of everything being tack sharp, that would have worked better for me. Right now, it's all, it needed a little, the viewer needed to be pointed a little bit more.
Well,
Using depth of field.
yeah, because it's competing, the hammock or the swing is competing with the dog. And, yeah. And then when you get out the window, then it goes soft. And I agree with Daryl for once.
Okay, great. General category, which, pretty much anything goes in general. First place goes to Carissa Marshall.
Is she here?
Carissa? Not here?
That's too bad.
We just like this photograph because it was out of the normal. It took thought to put this together. One person in multiple different places. I mean, what is that person, why are our hands on her head? Like, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you. All the different, bad things that come to your brain, your mind, and it's captured in one photograph, I mean, whether it's sin or hunger, I don't know, just throwing words out. But I just think it's pretty unique, almost eerie. Yes. You had a question?
Is this one taken like a haunted house or something?
Well, it's not my photograph, so I don't know.
But it's a multiple exposure. It's one person,
I know.
so it's manipulated, right?
So,
Is this the only category that you can do a manipulated photo?
Yes.
Okay.
Years ago, we had a manipulated category, and we abandoned it because we weren't getting many entries. And so we said, let's just allow manipulated photos in the general category.
Plus, it's hard to define manipulated, whether if you're doing HDR or if you're doing multiple images, or it's hard to define that
Yeah.
precisely.
Yeah, I spoke to Carissa. She just got a degree in photography from Parkland. She's kind of embarking on a professional career. She's not there yet, but I mean, she's showing she's got some talent, that's for sure. We'll see another piece of her work later on here too.
well, and I was gonna say, some of the things that set this image apart, aside from the messaging, like, she clearly had something to say with this photograph, and we all know what it is, right? We all have this experience. It's very relatable, and it sort of takes photography beyond I'm going to go capture this because I see it, right? Or she's made a plan, she's executed it, she's stylized it in a very personal way to her, I think, because if you see her other work, you'll know right away that it's her. And that is really something we don't see very often in these types of competitions, but it's just a great image and very, very well done.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Yes. Vivian's View by Emily Turner Condell. Is Emily here? Okay. If you're familiar with Chicago, you probably know where this is taken. And that certainly helps for most of us. But,
You can probably explain the Vivian part, though.
We assume
I-
it's Vivian, but
you can explain the Vivian part.
I've lost her last night, help me,
yeah.
real
Mayor,
quick.
Mayor.
Oh, yes.
In a storage unit was being auctioned off, a guy bought a box of negatives. In it, he had some of their film processed, and the images, this is right, I thought this wasn't as good as any Vivian picture, but Vivian Mayer was a nanny who, on her off time, took pictures, street pictures. They were amazing. They've been in shows at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. There's a couple books, and they're still processing her film. apparently her entire life, she took pictures but never had them processed. And, but they're amazing street scenes in Chicago.
Just everything.
And so Vivian's view would be homage to that. But I'll shut up now.
And then this is not something that would, I mean, subject-wise, it really isn't what she would really capture. And it's just a completely different type of image, but I really liked it because of the motion.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. So,
You know, that's probably, I was too hung up on the Vivian title
yeah.
to look at it as a picture, because Vivian never shot through anything, and she also never had any blurry people, you know.
Well, and that's the thing, because the Alliance Center where the legs are, and the buildings in the back are in focus, but everything else is blurred. The people, there's like, the motion, the cars, the bus, the people.
This was a rare moment where we almost got the gloves out.
Yeah. We were on one side.
It's just different, but we liked it. We ended up going, okay.
Yeah.
You know, at my age, I'm entitled to strong opinions, right?
Certainly. Okay, next. Little Blue, Barb Horse.
Really like this one,
Think-
yeah.
You've already,
Really.
you got your other ribbon in your envelope. This has got to be the family tractor, right?
It is.
I like your family track, I like tractors.
Great observation of the rhythm of shapes
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
leading lines and all of that. It's just, and the color, it's great.
Yeah, the headlight and the bales of hay, you know.
Nice detail in the headlight. That was, the exposure range here is, probably wasn't easy to capture it.
Very nice. Okay, let's go on. Well, this is one of my favorites. Holy Bat Signal. I've forgotten the artist now. Oh, Denise. Is Denise here? Yeah. Great capture.
Thank you.
You bet. And
I was gonna say something.
Go
Denise,
ahead.
I was wondering, when we saw this, because of the nighttime exposure, I'm wondering if you had done this or converted it to black and white, a very high contrast black and white, what the difference would have been.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have been the same as this, but I just wonder, I'd like to see an example of that maybe, you know, one time in the future.
If I was picking nits, I'd crop up from the bottom.
Yeah.
The street. There's a couple coming up, especially in the youth category, where the cropping's done, I mean,
Yeah, right there.
yeah, right about, you know, but negative space isn't always a good thing.
And even maybe shift it right or left, I'd go left, you know, so that the steeple on the left, you know, is almost out of the frame.
Is the photographer here?
That's just great.
yeah,
Did you correct perspective in post, or was it when you shot it?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
She can't hear you.
Did you correct the perspective? I'm assuming that the building was
actually, I
falling
thought it-
over a little bit or something. Did you correct it when you shot it, by how you did it, or did you correct it in post?
No, actually, I thought about naming it, no Photoshop needed. All I did was crop out a car and that's about it.
Ah,
Interesting. Huh, wow.
sorry. I'm turning it off.
nice job, Alan.
What?
Any of you that are asleep?
You know, because I have to say, but most of us working pros have fallen in love with Lightroom's transform function.
Yeah.
And, I still have my 28 millimeter Nikkor PC lens, which gives you the functionality of a tilt shift view camera on an SLR lens.
Okay. Evening, Lori, Tricia, already got.
I think the three of us all like
see a lot of sunflower photos, but this is, you know,
Its only downfall was in a tough category. And it was like, there was too much good stuff. So we had to make choices somewhere. Am I doing that correctly?
I couldn't put it in nature because of the road. Janet let me know, so I had to get shifted to the other category. So,
fair enough. Fair enough. And again, Tricia, rainy day in Paris.
I went to Paris.
This is an instance where I'm not a big fan of the spot color anymore, but this is an instance where it really works. It just, you know, and the way you framed it is great. It's just right smack in the middle. This is one of the times when the rule of thirds maybe doesn't work. It's just great right there. So.
Yeah, yes, spot colors often needs to be done in, at the very least possible. And the choice of Fred was probably really, that was a pretty big risk.
Yeah. Could have gone blue.
the umbrella was red.
She
So
left
there
it
was no
alone?
change in the color, everything else became black and white, and then that was left white.
Okay, next, landscape. Kayak in the mist. Michael Dobb, is Michael here? Okay, back there, all right. Congratulations. You have to look close to see the kayak, you know?
And this was so nicely done because it went beyond the usual landscape. I've lost the word there for it. The usual stuff that, you know.
Right.
I also think that one of the things that we're talking about is how the trees kind of frame to where the kayaker is. And also, if the water level, the horizon of the water level was too high, it would not have been effective. If it had been too low, it would not have been effective. So I think that where he is right now is near perfect. Maybe slightly off to the left might have been better. That way the trees on the right could have led the photograph from right to left. Just a little easier, but I think that overall it's a very good composition. Color black and white because there is a little bit of color to the paddle and to the kayaker. A little bit of blue in there. Was this done in black and white and then painted? Where he is?
No, it's in color, it's just that's how it looked that day.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, cool. Very cool, man.
Next, sunset on the Mediterranean, Kathleen Brinkman. Iconic location.
Crop. We talked about crop on
Yes.
this one.
Yeah.
Is the photographer here?
No.
Okay, well, for everybody else, we talked about coming up.
Take that fence post down.
Right here.
What is that thing that I usually, Jefferson?
You might have to adjust from the top a little bit too, but getting rid of the power line or telephone line, whatever it is, would have helped it a lot.
Where was it taken?
Cinque Terre, Italy.
Was it Italy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next, Tail Club, Stephanie Workman.
Straight horizon line
Yeah.
would not have worked at all without it.
And the road leading into rural thirds on the right. That's what, I actually, years back, on my cell phone, I was chasing a storm, and I did a photograph going down towards Philo. I showed it to you, almost identical to this one right here, but I converted it to black and white because he had that real intense look to it. But I like this, and I like it very, very much. Because where those lines meet, that's the end of the cloud. It takes a little, you have to observe that, and when you're structuring it, you've done it before. We keep saying we're gonna go out. It's not new. That's like, well, do I go further, do I pull back? Do I go further? And it's like the road too quick. So, yeah, good job.
And dusk after a spring rain, Walter Allspa. Walter?
Yeah. Yeah, we're still kind of going back and forth about the horizon, where it should be. I think that maybe we would have cut off, maybe that, or the opposite on the top.
Maybe both.
Maybe
Or
both.
Yeah. Just because there's just a little too much right here, Walter, and there's just a little too much right up there. And you can do that in post. Excuse me.
Beyond the Fence by Shelby.
Shelby, one of the things that I might have done, if this was image I would have done, I would have raised myself slightly up, so where that horizontal fence did cut the tree in half, and actually was on the bottom, so it mirrored where that horizontal line is, right there. Yeah, I would have put the fence horizontal post slightly lower so that I was above it. And that's just one slight observation.
But I like the view looking through the fence.
Yeah.
Just not something people would think about. Yeah.
You just need 5 cows on the other side.
Okay, next. Okay, this year, and this year only, we have a special category for the 25th anniversary of the Wandell Sculpture Garden. And we allowed photos that didn't have to be taken in the past year. And we wanted to see if we could get some more historical photos. I don't know how well we did in that category, but still. we
There
had
are
some-
some sculptures in the photos that we don't have anymore, so
Yes.
we do have some historical photos.
That's true, that's true. So it was fun to do, so let's see what we get. Fog and Fall by Yun Ju Kang. If you've ever been out there on the sidewalk, walking around in the fog, you never know what you're gonna run into out there, because there's all kinds of critters running around. Congratulations. Frozen by Ivana. Is that Ivana here? Nope. Okay. Close up on the sculpture marker. Prairie Sunrise, Deb's Cloth. Did I see Deb? Yeah. Let's see, gotta find
I think a problem we had with this category, Alan, and the reason these popped to the top, was a lot of people assumed that all we were looking for was a picture of a piece of sculpture.
Yeah.
And they would do a picture, piece of sculpture with no interesting lighting, nothing else going on for it. And that's why these kind of rose to the top, because they were interpretations of what you'd find in the park, not so much just a catalog of sculpture pieces.
Yeah. I'll also say, I think the print shows better than the projection.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
especially on this one.
Yeah. Misty Morning, Dead Cloth again.
That's cool.
Another one of those where,
Yep.
you're looking more closely, you're not looking at the sculpture. And Watching the Sunrise by Kane Rubel.
Nice framing on this, as far as having something to look at. And you're looking, well, the sculpture is drawing your eye to the right, and we created that space so that we could kind of bring our imaginations over with her gaze, which I really like. Again, thank you for having a fairly straight horizon line, because without it, it just doesn't work. And it's a nice image.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, nature. First prize, Sunset Posse, The Sunset Posse by Michelle Yeager.
Michelle, we, how do we say this? It's like, we looked at this photograph, it's like, just went back and forth. It's like all these people, I don't want to go to work, I don't want to go to work.
But it's another great example
Yeah.
of using a tool for creative choices.
Yeah.
You know, shallow depth of field, because otherwise it really, and off-center composition, I mean, just, you use the tools of the tools available to create this. It didn't just point it and snap, you know?
And the front three kind of, if you look at it, there's one on the left, the middle, the right, and then it kind of goes back up, and there's the one that's got his bill turned to the left, but then there's also a couple more that go, so it kind of zigzags the way, its way out of the image. Yeah. I like it.
Nicely done. Okay. Symmetry by Doug Mills. Is Doug here? And Doug kind of takes up the rest of the category.
I love this. It's great.
All the leaf lines lead into the center, and I think when you first look at it, you don't notice the frog, and all of a sudden you kind of go, whoa, like that.
But it's just a little bit off-center,
Yeah.
so it makes it's perfect.
Yep.
Interesting, makes it interesting.
Good job,
Well
guys.
said. Common green darner, laying green eggs, Doug Mills.
Wow.
Yeah. This, I guess on the side of being persistent and to stay there long enough to get a photograph like this, and some of the other bird photographs, that's, I couldn't do it, sorry.
I'm curious if he would share with us what Lindsay used.
Yeah.
I think that's 100, 400 with a 1.4 converter.
Wow.
So basically it's 6.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Another Doug Mills piece, Dragonfly Emerging. Again, this prints better than projects, I think. You gotta be there at the right time for this, right?
Right, that's impressive.
And cut leaf toothwort.
Pleasing.
Yeah, and that's a flaw in our, that's not on the print, sorry. And then this, another sunflower, Tricia, son of the sunflower. Nice kind of macro.
I like the way you framed that in. Just kind of like rebirth. Cresty.
And Allison being the change.
Which goes against Michelle. That one. I think that also, it again, used the partial rule of thirds, because all the birds are going this way, and where he's cropped in the photograph, going that way, that's using the rule of thirds, because that's lower right quadrant.
I like the title.
Yeah.
Not that we use the titles to judge the photos. Next category, people. And Carissa, again, another piece.
It's composed, it's lit, it's got a lot going on there. It's just,
Good job.
Oh, you got your late, okay, so, let's see. You've got a couple of, I want to make sure you get the right ribbons in the dark here. Wait a minute.
you should do something really nice for your friend who's a model. You know, something really, really nice, you know?
Hold steady here.
And your control of lighting, or, you know, I mean, I'm assuming this is all available light?
I had a flash on my camera.
Oh, it's Phil?
Shooting at her, I had a flash on me, and then the window had light.
Oh, this is really great use of film flash, just really nice. That's above and beyond, isn't it?
And this reminds me of an artist, I think his name was Steve Hanks, who was a watercolor painter. It's the subject matter and the thought behind it is very similar to his work. He was around in the 80s and the 90s, really popular, but, you know, aside from the fact that it's the same subject, we all know that this is the same work, the same photographer that photographed the piece we were talking about earlier, because, and not just the same setting, because it's stylized in a very nice way. It's very personal, and I really, it was great. It was another one where all three of us went, yep, there it is.
Did you direct her, or did she find her own poses?
I told her to do that.
Good job.
The Opera House in Gibson City was open for photographers to take pictures at, and they still might be at house tour.
Next time, 100 people are going to be here. Did somebody pick up her other blue ribbon? Okay,
You like one?
I'll find it, but
Don't leave
it's not
correct
sitting
for a second.
there. Baptism by Brian Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brian had a second one that was an honorable mention. Reborn, very much the same style.
But we thought that one definitely had a little more power than the other one, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Next. And time passing time. Deb, and you've already picked up your stuff, so, yeah. Nice use of light there.
It's, the lines coming together, just, and that guy's in the right spot, because closer or farther away wouldn't have worked. Nice control of light, though. A nice choice to let the end of the bridge blow out a little bit.
And Serenity by Jake Myers. Is Jake here?
This stood head and shoulders. There was a fair number of kid pictures, but I will admit that I'm biased. In my first photo class at the University of Missouri, for the first portrait assignment, we had 10 assignments in the first semester. We were allowed one kid picture out of those 10 assignments. Because they're kind of easy. But then there's the step beyond.
I also think too, that as a children's photographer, sometimes kids will pose themselves. But it's your responsibility to change your angle to accommodate the pose as well as the light. And, yeah, and, yeah, you have to merge it together. And if you notice where the horizontal line and the diagonal line of the road connect, it's at her head. And you're not looking at her feet, you're looking at her eyes, because she's looking at the mom or dad or whoever's there. And so that's what makes this photograph more, what's the word I want to use there? Compelling.
Thank you, Dylan.
I'm sorry.
We feed on each other's
No,
words.
guys, what would you think about coming down a little bit from the top?
Too much space up the top.
Yeah, just a smidge, right?
I don't know. I think I'd leave it there, because then you have, yeah, it would become too balanced, and I don't want that photo. I wouldn't want this photograph overly balanced. I like it the way it is.
Give her some space to look into.
I will admit to a bias from my 40 years in newspapers, is that was page space. And if it wasn't wasn't telling part of the story, it probably needed to go, you know?
I get that.
And in defense of Daryl, I think that I do see what he says, but I would have cropped a little bit of the right off, and then a small amount of the ceiling off.
But we're doing some serious picking of nits, aren't we?
Okay. And last, hometown heroes, Tammy. Yeah. Nice photo,
Very nice.
spoken by a fire photographer.
And this goes back to what I just said about, you've got, your subject is posed, and you have to move your angle to compensate. Because if this gentleman was there and the photographer, whoever it was over too far on the left or too far on the right, you either cut out the latter person, which actually makes that diagonal line semi-using the rule of thirds. Not that I want to say the guy bending over is the rule of thirds, but it would have been not enough or too much.
Yeah, the ladder, the firefighter on the ladder makes the picture. It tells the story, because the firefighter itself, the main subject really isn't doing much at this point. So the background is what really tells the story here, but I like the way it's presented. It's very nice.
And you get the smokiness there, so you know it's something's ongoing, it's not over. Okay. Youth category. We got 2 winners this year. Nathaniel took first in youth. It was a great black and white shot, really.
Yeah.
Is Nathaniel here?
Here?
Okay.
This is, for all of us here, this is our first time judging, and the youth category has always been really rewarding, and this didn't fail us in that.
Not at all.
In fact, some of the best, we've had years when the youth took the best in show, which we don't, but this is really high quality work in this category.
Yes. Is Liliana here?
This is my kind of crop. You know, where you don't feel constrained by some print size that you need to get at Walgreens, but you're cropping it to what you want in, whether it's a strong horizontal or a strong vertical, you've made it into something much more, because you get a lot more energy in one or the other.
That's a headline.
And one of the things, Liliana, wherever you're at, one of the things that, as a people photographer, that I like about this is that, one, you concentrate on her eyes, because if it was cropped any different, you would not be able to do that. But the contrast going from the bright skin, actually the eye, to the bright skin, to the darkness of the right eye, your concentration actually is over on the left eye. And, it leads you down into the right. But I think that you did a very, very good job, and I agree with Daryl on this. Again, that, I know, that if you cropped it any differently, it wouldn't have worked.
A brief aside, I have a thing
Might not have worked.
about picture shape and the energy involved. I have a client who I love dearly, but they're currently requiring me to shoot square action photos for their website. I would like to find that web designer and strangle them, but, so, because I've got to frame everything up as a square photo. Did you ever run into that, Della?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or better than that, like, I mean, literally like an inch by 10 inches I've had to shoot, and that's,
Web designers can either be a blessing or the bane of photographer's success.
So to add to this, I just realized what I was trying to say, is that the brightness of the nose actually separates the two eyes. The eye on the left is on what I call quadrants. There's 9. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so the line where the circle where the iris is on the left is what I call the upper left quadrant. The circle of the iris on the right is the lower right quadrant. So that's using the rule of thirds. Even though it's an elongated photograph, it's still using the rule of thirds. So you obviously thought this out. You looked at it. I don't know if you did any. You did. Well, you did really good, okay?
It's either that or the reason that the ancient artists came up with the rule of thirds is because it looks right when you see it.
Yeah.
You know? And there are times when you can break rules, but what I've told my classes, if you compose your cut photo starting with the rule of thirds, you're probably going to get something that's not bad to start with, then you can tweak it from there.
That's right.
I would also add that maybe you weren't thinking this when you took the picture, but you saw it when you were editing it later. And there's a lot of photos out there that could have used a little more cropping to kind of draw your attention to what it was they were taking the shot of. Sometimes they get a little too busy and are on the outside, and you're not sure what's the story.
And there were, for those of you here, I'm sure none of you did this, but there were some badly mounted photos.
Well, yeah.
And there were some that, back in the day, I used to have a critique form for my classes, and the last one was Defies comment. And we had a few, it was like, I'm not sure what they were thinking about when they pressed the button, you know?
well, the youth group, the youth part, youth sector, whatever, category. For me, I love seeing the world through these eyes. Not those particular eyes, but the eyes of the youth, because you're sometimes looking at the world without the constraints that life brings to you, the rules that you constantly have. And sometimes it's just, you're looking at things completely visceral. This feels right. This feels like what I want to do. This speaks to you as a person. And in photography, it's your job to see things, but also to personalize how do you want to tell the story of the image that you see in your head. And that's the big gap, right? I've got this in my head, how do I get there? And what I see is like this really fresh, I love this category because you get to see things really fresh. And for me, it frees me. I look at it and say, hey, I really need to let go a little bit, right? So, and not feel like I have to do things a certain way, but it feels right. So,
Okay.
kudos.
And Liliana, again, Tranquil Winter, your ribbon's in your envelope, so.
Very unique.
Yeah. Very nice. And Nathaniel, who's not here, can you find Andromeda?
Yeah.
Nice shot. And Airborne. Well done. Okay, last category, we saved, no, we didn't save the best for last, honestly. That would be something very nice if we should. But, first place, Charles Stevens? Charles, you're here, right? I saw you earlier, I thought. No? Okay. We'll save it for tomorrow's meeting.
Who's this guy?
Listen,
Right.
That's another bird photo by Alan.
so, taken in my backyard. And this, of course, was out at Meadowbrook. One of the things we did a couple of years ago was the club arranged with the park district to go out at night, which you're not really supposed to do, but we had permission, and did some night photography out there. So some of the advantages belonging to the club. And then this was also shot out at Meadowbrook. So I got my Meadowbrook photos even though I wasn't in the category. Okay. So, and then,
We didn't know we did this.
We didn't know who was in there.
yeah. I mean, I guess I should say that the judges don't know who the photographers are. They don't know the names of people, so I don't want to say anymore. But, this, again, was another club event. We went over to Indiana to shoot the Sandhill Cranes, so got one. So that brings us to the end. Could we turn the lights back up? There's a switch by the door. I just want to thank all of you again. I look forward to seeing your photos next year. And before we say, I have a little token of thank you to our judges. Thank you for your
We
time.
have a special rule where Ellen can't enter next year.
Fair enough. Okay, so, thank you for coming. I hope you learned a lot. Get your photos up outside.
I brought a couple extra of the News Gazettes for anyone.
Great work.
There's some out there.
Any of the winners who didn't have enough.
Can I just see it?